Using a 19mm socket, let's remove the lug nuts. Go ahead and remove the wheel and set it aside. Using an 18mm deep socket, we're going to go ahead and loosen our tie rod and nut. Using a 22mm wrench, let's go ahead and loosen the jam nut on our outer tie rod. So we're going to go ahead and count the rotation it takes to remove the outer tie rod. We got 13 revolutions to take it off. We used a crayon to mark that up here on the vehicle itself. That way there, I won't forget it. Go ahead and loosen the clamp. I'm just gonna slide this back. We're gonna use our punch here to work it up and pop this inner band clamp off. This is a non-reusable item, so we're just gonna work that off. That way there we can remove the bellows boot from the inner tie rod. With the bands released, we can go ahead and slide our bellows boot down, exposing our inner tie rod. I'm going to install our tool to remove our inner tie rod. Let's go ahead and install our extensions and ratchet. Let's go ahead and loosen this inner tie rod. Once the inner tie rod is loose, we can go ahead and remove our tool, and we can spin off the inner tie rod the rest of the way. Let's go ahead and spin off the rest of the inner tie rod. Now at this point here, we have the inner tie rod removed. Let's go ahead and remove our jam nut for our outer tie rod. Slide our bellows boot off and slide off our tool. Let's go ahead and remove our band clamp from this. Let's get this boot cleaned up and do an overall inspection. Make sure there's no tears in it. Everything looks good. We're just going to clean it up so we can reuse this. Let's go ahead and install our inner tie rod. Now we did put a little bit of blue Loctite on those threads there. And I want to go ahead and torque this down to 74 foot-pounds. I'm going to go ahead and remove our jam nut here. Once that's off, I'm going to go ahead and take a clean towel. I'm going to go down inside here. I'm just going to clean up the inside of the rack area. Once that's set, I'm going to go ahead and put some grease around the inner part of the rack here. Now when I go to install our boot, we have our vent tube on the top. You want to make sure that that lines up with the vent tube on the top of our steering rack. Slide this down into place. Push this down. What we'll do next is we're going to go to the other side of the vehicle. We'll turn the steering. That's going to pull our inner tie rod end inward, and it's going to allow us to get our inner part of our boot anchored and secured. Might take a little bit of work to go ahead and get that boot lined up. There we go, got the boot on and the vent tube hooked up. Let's go ahead and install our band. Once that band is tight, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the excess. I'm going to install the clamp for the outer portion of our bellows boot. Install your jam nut. Install the outer tie rod the same revolutions it took to remove it. bring the jam nut up to the back side of it. Remove the castle nut. Line this up with the back side of your knuckle. You may have to go to the other wheel and turn that just a little bit to get that to line up. Get that lined up. You want to identify the hole in the outer tie rod end here for where your cotter pin is going to go. Put the washer on. Install the castle nut. We're going to go ahead and tighten this down to 22 foot-pounds. And you want to do 22 foot-pounds plus 120 degrees if you have the ability to do so. Now once you're torqued, you want to go ahead and find that spot in your outer tie rod shaft here with that hole in it. That is that spot for your cotter pin here. If it doesn't line up, you do not want to back the nut off. You actually want to tighten it a little bit more to get that to line up. What we'll do is you can feed it through the back side. Grab your pliers. What we'll do is take this here, bend it over. And then we're going to cut off excess. What I want to do is tighten down our jam nut now. And what you want to do is make sure that our jam nut is tight. With that tight, I'm going to go ahead and grab our pliers. Make sure that our outer tie rod is level and not cocked off to the side. Now that this is all complete, you definitely want to go down and get an alignment done. That'll help prevent any abnormal tire wear or drivability issues. Go ahead and grab your wheel and get that installed. Let's go ahead and get the lug nuts all started by hand. Once you have your lug nuts on, let's go ahead and snug those down. Let's go ahead and torque our lug nuts down to 100 foot-pounds.